Yo, what is up, you guys? Ryan Brewer back here, the host of Michael Myers Reacts, and welcome to MMR Live number 19. I'm really excited for this one. I'm going to be talking about the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie that was released today, but before we get into that, I gotta thank you guys for the love on MMR Live number 18, obviously the previous episode. It has 80 views or over 80 views now, and I'm really happy about that because I didn't do an MMR Live for a good little while, and seeing that episode get 80 views plus is really awesome to me. So thank you guys for the success on that episode. If you have not yet watched MMR Live number 18, please check it out. I talk all about upcoming 2022 horror movies. I even speak on this Chainsaw movie a little bit in that stream or video now, of course. But tonight's episode is going to be dedicated to this new Chainsaw movie. Now, I do want to say that if you haven't seen the new Chainsaw movie yet, the beginning of this stream or video is going to be spoiler free. But I am going to talk spoilers a little later on in the stream. I will let you guys know when I get into the spoiler discussion, but a majority of the beginning of the stream will be spoiler free. So if you haven't seen the new Chainsaw movie yet, you are safe to watch this stream. I'm not here to ruin it for you guys. I just want to kind of give you guys my thoughts. But before we get into that, I do want to give a shout out to a couple of people in the chat. We have Horrorman93, of course. We also have Bulls Fan. Thank you guys for being here. But yeah, it's really exciting. So I'm going to go ahead and read some of this chat because you guys are awesome. I get some chats before I even start the live stream. So let's see. Really enjoyed this movie. It was... Wait, let me do this. Let me restart this. Really enjoyed this movie. It was surprisingly better than I expected. It honestly could have went to the theaters. It feels like it should have. I liked it better than 2013 Texas Chainsaw 3D. I like it better than Texas Chainsaw 3D, and I like it better than the 2017 prequel Leatherface. I don't know if it should have got a theatrical release, to be honest with you. I've said this before. At least I think I've said this before. I don't even know. Leatherface's new home, the Chainsaw franchise's new home, if we do get more movies after this one, it'll always go straight to Netflix. Like, that's just the new thing for the Chainsaw franchise. I don't see it ever getting a theatrical release again. Unless, they decide to remake the movie again. I don't think that's going to happen. Obviously, this new one is a requel. And I'm going to get into all that here in a minute. But, yeah, I like it better than Texas Chainsaw 3D and the 2017 Leatherface prequel. So let me give you guys my thoughts on this new Chainsaw movie, because that's what you're really here for. Let me just say this right now. I did enjoy the movie. I do think it's a good Texas Chainsaw Massacre sequel, but it's not perfect. If I was going to rate this movie out of 10... I'm giving it a 7.5. It could have been better than what it was. And the reason why I'm giving it a 7.5 is because the story, honestly, there really wasn't much of a story, which is unfortunate because, they could have done so much more with this movie. And there's recycled material, obviously, with Sally and Leatherface, similar to Michael and Laurie in Halloween 2018. So it's recycled material. But overall, it's still very different. I don't want you guys to think that this new Chainsaw movie is basically just copying Halloween 2018. It is in a way, but it's not at the same time. Like, it's very much its own thing. You guys know that in Halloween 2018, we had like an epic showdown with Michael and Laurie. This one, we do get, this showdown between Sally and Leatherface, which is great. And I called that. I said that on like my trailer reaction / discussion video. I was like, they're going to have a showdown, and we got that, but it's not what you expect. I'll talk about that a little later on in the stream. It'll be during the spoiler discussion. But what they did with this movie, I think, really works. Now, recycled material bothers me. I wish they would have done something different, but at the same time, it's Texas Chainsaw Massacre, so at this point, I'm not going to complain with what we got because what we got isn't that bad. I think this movie is going to take a lot of Chainsaw fans by surprise. If you are a Texas Chainsaw Massacre fan, even if you're just a fan of the original movie, I would say watch this one. I think this one will bring people back into the franchise a little bit. I'm not, it's a 7.5 out of 10. It's not a perfect movie. It's not the best sequel in the franchise, but if you're a Chainsaw fan and you kind of dropped out over the years because of the previous two sequels were awful. So if you dropped out because of those being bad and you just don't care about this franchise anymore, give this one a watch. I really do think it's going to take people by surprise. Now, I've already seen a lot of people talking about this movie on social media. It's getting a lot of mixed reviews. There's either people who really love the movie, and then there's people who definitely hate the movie. I saw that coming. I think we all should have, because it's a new Chainsaw movie. That's how the future of this franchise is always going to be. If this one gets a sequel, let's say Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2022 gets a sequel in 2024, it's probably going to be a love-hate relationship with the movie. I'm trying to really talk about this without spoiling it, because there's a lot of things that I really do like about it. Now, let me just say, Leatherface in this movie, played by Mark Burnham, I think that's how you say his last name. Fantastic job. So if you were worried about maybe the portrayal of Leatherface, you don't have to worry about that. He did a fantastic job. Believe it or not, Mark is probably my third favorite Leatherface now. Obviously, Gunnar Henson is the first one, and then the guy who played Leatherface in the remake, can't remember his name. And then it's Mark, because he did a fantastic job. Like, getting into the whole age thing, you know how this new Chainsaw movie takes place 50 years after the original movie. So Leatherface at this point would be like 70 or in his 70s, somewhere around that, and people are kind of like, you know, they don't believe that what he does in this movie makes sense because of his age. You know, they think that he's like too old to be doing what he's doing in this movie. And if you look past that and you look at Mark's performance as Leatherface, like, don't think about the age, don't think about the big time jump. He really does portray Leatherface like Gunnar did, in my opinion. The way he moved, the way he did killings in this movie, the way he killed people was very much like Gunnar Henson. So I think he did a really good job. Now, I do agree that, like, the age thing it's kind of throwing a lot of fans off. It is kind of a weird thing, but I don't think I don't think it takes away from the movie. I think what we got was fine. You know what I mean? That's really all I have to say. You got to look past that. It's going to have its problems, but the guy, Mark, who played Leatherface, did a fantastic job. The director, David Blue Garcia, we got the Battle of the Davids here. We got David Gordon Green, who does a Halloween requel, and then we have David Blue Garcia, who does a Texas Chainsaw Massacre requel, if I can speak. Battle of the Davids. He did a great job. I do think he's a really good director. If I'm correct, he's done one other film before this Chainsaw movie. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's a horror film. I have no clue. But this movie was shot really well. I really do think it was shot really well. The only real problem I have with this movie, again, I love Mark's portrayal as Leatherface. The directing's really good. Even the music was really good in this movie. I think the score was really good for this new Chainsaw movie. The only problem I have with it, the only thing that really makes this a 7.5 out of 10 for me, is the story. The story, there almost isn't a story. It's so simple that there's like nothing to it. But you guys got to remember, this is a slasher film. This is a Texas Chainsaw Massacre film. There doesn't have to be this real heavy story type movie. You know, it's a slasher movie. It's a Leatherface film. So it doesn't need that. And a lot of the characters in this movie that aren't developed, that's another thing that really makes this movie not as good as it could have been. There's not a lot of character development. There's a few characters, like even our main characters, you really just don't care about anybody in this movie. And, you know, they're just there for a body count. So if you're going to watch this new Chainsaw movie and you haven't seen it yet, just go into it having fun. Like, don't take it serious. Don't expect it to be like a masterpiece, because you're definitely not going to get that. Just go into it and have a good time. It's definitely a popcorn horror movie. You know, invite some friends over, whatever. Just hang out and watch this movie and have a good time and watch some really amazing kills. That's ultimately what this new Chainsaw movie is. And to me, that's good enough, because the last two were so bad that I don't find them enjoyable at all. This one's definitely enjoyable. And I was also going to say, you know, I don't think the Chainsaw franchise is going to stop here now. I know I said in, I think MMR Live 18, when I touched up on this movie a little bit, I was like, if this movie's not good, they need to lay the character to Leatherface, They need to just drop the franchise. You know what I mean? Like, we don't need no more movies if you're going to keep giving us garbage. They need to just put the character of Leatherface to rest. That's what I was trying to say. But honestly, I think this one was good enough to where it's a step in the right direction. This is the Chainsaw movie that is making that first step. So if we do get a sequel to this movie, I'm hoping that they just progress into something better and better, which I think they will, because this one is impressive. I think it is taking people by surprise, but I think either way, there are people who are so fed up with this franchise and just sick of the movies because they're so bad that they just don't care. Like, even though this one is definitely better than the last two, people are still going to hate this movie. It's not perfect, and it's not going to be. I don't think we'll ever have another 10 out of 10 Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie. Now, with that being said, I don't think that this new movie deserves like a trilogy. I don't think David Blue Garcia deserves to have like a Chainsaw trilogy over on Netflix. One more movie maybe, and then just like stop there. Or don't make another one at all. I think the ending to this new Chainsaw movie is satisfying. It's definitely a nod to the original movie. You know what I'm talking about if you've seen it. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if they're ever going to... I'm trying to think of how to put this. I don't know. I recommend it. I guess that's really all I have to say. I definitely recommend it. Let me get into chat here. I haven't read chat in a while. I'm going to have to pull it up on my phone. You guys are going crazy. Let me pull up chat on my phone, and then, yeah, we'll get into that. Hold on. I always try to read it on my computer screen, but, like, every time I do that, it's just, there's too much going on. Give me 1 second here. But yeah, let me know what you guys think of the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie in the live chat or the comment section down below for sure. Alright, let me see here. I don't even know where I left off, to be honest. Alright, let me scroll back up. My first question, what did you think of the cast as a whole? I think everybody did a good job. You know, there's no big names in this movie, not that I know of. I'm sure that maybe some of these actors have been in other things. I could be wrong, I really don't know. But it's an okay cast. Again, like, some of the characters aren't developed, and that's not the actor's faults or the actress's faults. That's the writing and all that good stuff. But they did good with what they had. They did good with what they had. Definitely Mark stood out as Leatherface. His performance is definitely one of my favorites now. It's really, really good. No one else really stood out to me. Melody was cool. Lila was cool. Dante was okay. But overall, no one really stood out. It's really just a slaughter fest. You're just here to see Leatherface kill people, and that's exactly what we got. So, and I think that's what they were going for. So it accomplished that. So characters are okay. Cast is fine. It is what it is. But that's really how I feel about it. It's not anything impressive in my opinion, but it's good. Old Man Leatherface was not messing around in this movie. It's funny because everyone's complaining about the age thing. Like, I get it. He's supposed to be like 70 or whatever, however old he's supposed to be in this movie. 70 plus, whatever. And it is kind of weird because, you know, he is an older guy. So you kind of like, you know, can he really still be doing this stuff? I don't know. But it doesn't bother me. You got to look past that stuff. Some of the best kills are in this one. Yeah, I was going to say, you know, this is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie that's actually a massacre, because, you know, the original movie, I don't know, what was there, like 4 kills in the original Chainsaw movie? That's nothing. This movie, I mean, there's a lot, there's 10 plus in this movie because of a certain scene that happens, which, I guess I can say this because it was in the trailer, the whole bus scene is, I think you can imagine what I'm trying to say. It's a crazy sequence. So let me just say that. I'll get into that when I talk about the spoilers, because I don't want to spoil anything. I know some of you have not seen the movie yet, so let's see. Is that a Frankenstein monster on your... Is that Frankenstein's monster on your shirt? Yeah, it's a Frankenstein shirt. Yep. Let's see. Yeah, it's a real thin plot. It is. And that's unfortunate. But again, like, a movie like that doesn't need to have a heavy story, because it's just a slasher movie. It is what it is. Sally really didn't have a huge impact in the movie, in my opinion. That's what I wanted to talk about as well. I guess I could talk about this a little bit without spoiling it. So, because this is in the trailer as well. You guys know that Sally's is in this movie, which she's an iconic character. She's the final girl of the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie. They brought her back for this one, which I thought was a really good idea, because this is the first Chainsaw movie that brought her character back. And she's a great character, especially in the original film. She is in this movie. She does take that role of Jamie Lee Curtis, you know, like Laurie Strode. You know, she was waiting for Leatherface. She was preparing to have this showdown with Leatherface. So she was preparing for that like Laurie was, you know. And what we got with her was disappointing, I'll be honest. Now, the actress who plays Sally in this movie she does. I can believe that that's Sally 50 years later. You know what I mean? But the character, the writing for her character is awful. It's unfortunate too because she's such a big character in the original movie. You know, she's a final girl, and what they did with her in this film is awful. It really is. I'm not a fan of it. I think it's ridiculous. But what can I do about it? You know, I would have done way different than what they did with her. But it is what it is. I'll talk about that a little more because there's some spoilers with her, and I'm not going to talk about that right now. I really enjoyed it. Leatherface in the movie was brutal. Still not more brutal than Michael Myers in Halloween Kills, though. Yeah, this is probably... I'm going to have to think here. I'm going to have to rewatch some of the Chainsaw sequels, but this might be the most brutal Leatherface has ever been, and I love that. You know, Leatherface should be that, because it's Leatherface. You know, it's a massacre. We need some kills, some crazy kills, and obviously Halloween Kills delivered on that. So I think I agree with you. I think Michael was definitely more brutal in kills, but for Leatherface, this was very brutal. And it's funny because this is a sequel to the original movie. This is 50 years later, but the original movie had like no blood. You know what I mean? And this one's like on crack. This one's like steroids. This movie's crazy compared to that one. So, I mean, I like that. I like that he was brutal. That's what he should be. David Blue Garcia, I'm hoping he does more horror movies. I think he did one movie before this one. Not sure what it was. I hope he does more horror as well because he does a really good job. The actor playing Leatherface reminds me of Gunner a little, and the 2003 remake Leatherface. He definitely reminds me of Gunner, and that's why he's my third favorite now. He did a fantastic job. I can believe that that's Leatherface, well, maybe not 50 years later, like it's supposed to be, but I can believe that's the same Leatherface. You know what I mean? And that's why I love his performance so much. And I think a lot of people would agree, like, whether you like the movie or not, because obviously it's getting mixed reviews now. People honestly hate this movie, and some people love it. But don't even worry about the movie. Take Mark's performance and just look at it as a performance, and it's fantastic. It's really good. All right, let's see. Where is it? He really doesn't look that old. Yeah, no. Bring him back if they do another movie. They might bring him back if they do another movie. I hope they do, especially if they do a sequel to this Chainsaw. They need to bring him back. You know, they really don't have to recast for Leatherface. He did such a great job. And if they do a sequel to this one, you know, it's still the same timeline, so he could definitely play Leatherface again. I'm not saying we're going to get that, but if we do, I'll be really excited for it. I was impressed by this movie. It really did take me by surprise. I expected it to be better than the last two sequels, but I didn't expect it to be as good as it was. It turned out really, really good. Let's see. Oh, I thought this was his first movie. No, I think David Blue Garcia did a movie before this. I don't know if it's horror. I don't know what it is, but I do believe he did a movie before this one. It's very thin, but Texas Chainsaw Massacre is not complex like other slashers. No slasher's really super complex anyways. And Chainsaw doesn't need to be that. This movie was exactly what a Chainsaw movie should be. It should just be Leatherface killing people, brutal, and just crazy. Like, that's really all you need with it. That's what we're here for. You know what I mean? How many people are like, oh, I want to watch this Chainsaw movie. I'm here for the story. Like, story matters, don't get me wrong. Because if you don't have a good story, you know, your movie's going to be garbage. And the story in this was thin, but it wasn't a bad story. It wasn't a bad way to bring Leatherface back, you know? So they did enough to where it's good, you know what I mean? But it's definitely a thin story, a thin plot. The two main characters, the sisters, they were the standouts of the movie, especially the girl Melody. Yeah, I would say she's the standout. I'm still not a fan of really any characters. I didn't care what happened. You know, when certain characters died, I didn't feel anything. There was no emotional attachment to any of these characters, so it just is what it is. But I would agree they probably are the two standouts, but again, that's not saying a lot. There wasn't anybody in this movie that really was like, oh, I really care about this character. I really like this character. Because obviously in the original movie, you care about Sally, you know. This one doesn't have that. And of course, Sally's in the movie, but even with her, you know, you really don't care about what's going to happen to her because, you know, all these characters were not developed well at all. The movie had some good suspense. It did. There was some times where I was on edge, you know, and that's a good thing. And that's what this movie needed because if it's not going to have a heavy story, it needs to rely on something, and the suspense was definitely there. Like the scene with, what was her name? Ruth, I think, when she goes in that sheriff van, obviously after they have to take a certain character to get medical attention. I'm not going to say who that is yet, but it's in the trailer. The van wrecks, and she's in the van, and, Leatherface is there, of course. That was very suspenseful. And when Melody was in the closet and she saw Leatherface after something happened, it's kind of hard to talk about because I can't get into spoilers yet, but there's a couple of scenes that were definitely suspenseful, and I love that. I can't speak tonight, if you guys can't tell. I don't know why, but I just can't. I'm going to get a drink of water. All right, where was I? Do you like Jailhouse Rock from Elvis Presley? Yeah, I mean, it's cool. It's a cool... I mean, wait, you mean the song or the movie? Because there's a song and a movie. I mean, it's cool. It's iconic, Let's see. In my opinion, the best Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies, the original and the 2003 remake. I agree. Those are... Well, yeah, that's my top two for sure. I had to think for a second, because I really love the sequel. I love Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, but those are probably my top two favorite as well. I think majority of Chainsaw fans would say that. I agree with you. Let's see. I'm starting to watch it now. Well, I hope you enjoy it because it's a fun time. Don't take it serious. Don't expect it to be a masterpiece, but it is better than at least 3 of the sequels, It's definitely better than 2013. It's better than that crappy prequel we got, and it's definitely better than The Next Generation, even though I have fun with The Next Generation. Obviously it's not a good movie, but this one's better than that, and I'm glad, you know what I mean? I was kind of thinking that this one wasn't going to be good at all. When the trailer came out, I was hyped for it. I did really like the trailer. The look of Leatherface, that's something else I need to talk about. The look of Leatherface in this still does not sit with me right. I think it's okay. Like, I don't think it's the worst look in the franchise, but the look of Leatherface in this, I'm still not a huge fan of it. I think it's good enough, though. I don't think it's bad. But I think it's just kind of in the middle. Like, if I was going to rate his look in this movie, it's like 5 out of 10. It's very average for me. But I don't think it's bad. So that's a good thing. Because that was when that poster came out, when he's in that sunflower field and the sun's shining and you can't really see his face that well, the mask that well. Well, not really mask. The face. You know what I'm talking about. When you can't really see his appearance that well, I was like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to like this. Because that poster was okay. But I was like, oh, man, I don't know how he's going to look. And I'm still that way, but it's not that bad. Let's see. Glad to hear that it was pretty good. Yeah, I think you're going to enjoy it. If you're a fan of the franchise overall, because majority of people only like that original film or that remake. If you're a fan of the franchise overall, you're probably going to enjoy this one. If you're a fan of, if you're a fan of even the crappy sequels, you're definitely going to like this one. If you're just a fan of everything they've done, you're going to love this one. But if you're not, if you're only a fan of the original, another thing too, this is a direct sequel to the original movie, just like Halloween 2018 was to Halloween 1978. I do want to say right now, there's definitely connections to the original movie, but this does not feel like a sequel to the original Chainsaw movie. Now, in the case of Candyman 2021, I know we're not talking about Candyman, but I'm going to get into that a little bit. When Candyman 2021 came out, that actually felt like a direct sequel to the original Candyman. Halloween 2018 didn't really do it for me either, and neither did this Chainsaw movie. It does not feel like a direct sequel. There's connections. Sally's back. That's great, but it doesn't feel like a direct sequel. That's just me. Some people will probably disagree, but I think the best, requel is Candyman 2021 so far, just because of it feeling like a direct sequel to the original movie. They nailed it. This one did not, unfortunately, but with that being said, I still don't think that takes away from the movie. I still had a great time with it. Alright, where was I? I think the bus scene was pretty good. That scene was amazing. That's probably my favorite scene in the movie. I'm not going to get into that too much. You guys can pretty much guess what happens there. I think that's my favorite scene in the movie. It was a great scene. I'll get into that a little bit more here in a little bit. The actress playing Sally did okay. She had a decent showdown. I'll get into that here soon. The last 3 movies were horrible. I like Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Beginning, if you're talking about that one. The prequel to the remake. I thought they did good with that. I respect your opinion, of course, but I thought that one was pretty good. But I agree with you somewhat. Even the beginning wasn't perfect, but it was good for what it was, in my opinion. Let's see. Do you agree that Elvis Presley is the king of rock and roll? Honestly, not. I don't know. Elvis Presley's iconic. Let's get into the Elvis Presley rant here. Elvis Presley's iconic. He's definitely a legend. I would never take that away from him. What he did, with music history, he's one of the biggest artists of all time, even to this day. King of rock and roll. I mean, of course, that's what he's called. And I would say, yeah. I'd say, yeah. I'm not going to take that away from Elvis Presley. But, yeah, I mean, I like Elvis. He's okay. I don't really listen to him a lot, but Elvis is cool. I like Elvis. Let's see. Sally was a big Laurie Strode ripoff. I was so disappointed. What they did with her could have been way better for her. I agree. I'm going to get into that too. It was 100% a Laurie Strode ripoff, which is unfortunate, but I think it's okay. You know what I mean? It's a ripoff, but it's different at the same time, and I'm going to get into that here soon when I get into the spoilers. We're about 30 minutes in, so the spoiler discussion will be coming really soon. She had bad lines like Laurie Strode for Halloween 2018. I agree. The writing for Sally in this movie was awful. I didn't like it at all. He is up there for me now with Gunner and Remake. Definitely, he's my third favorite. Mark Burnham, I think that's how you say that. Burnham? I think I'm saying his last name right. If I'm saying it wrong, I apologize. But Mark, he's definitely my third favorite Leatherface. He's fantastic. He was a beast as Leatherface. Yes, he really was. What do you think about the mask in this one? I think he did look menacing. I'm not a fan of it. I'm kind of like in the middle. I don't think it's bad, but I'm not a fan of it. I wouldn't sit here and say this is one of Leatherface's best looks, because it's not. But I am a fan of it. I don't think it's bad. I think it's fine. That's how I feel about that. Let's see. Awesome, they got the narrator from the OG. Yeah, I was going to talk about that too. I can't remember his name, but that's amazing. Because he's in the very beginning of this movie. Like, as soon as this new Chainsaw movie starts, he starts narrating this, like... There was a documentary coming out about the events from the first movie, right? And... he narrated that little documentary, like trailer or commercial thing that was on that TV in the beginning of the movie. That was amazing. I'm so glad that he came back to even do that little part. Because, us Chainsaw fans, we would catch on to that. His voice did sound a little different, obviously, because he's older now, but he still sounded just like he did in the original movie. A little different, but, I liked it. I think it was really cool. That was a nice little touch for the Chainsaw fans. I like his look more now since I've seen the movie. I think I like it a little more too now that, now since I've seen the movie. When the poster came out, I really wasn't a fan of it at all. But now that the movie is out, I will say I like it a little more, but it's still average for me, like 100%. Let's see. You think it's better having it on Netflix or in the theaters? To be honest with you, I'm a fan of theaters. I support theaters. I don't want those to go anywhere. Let's all be honest here. At some point, there probably won't be theaters because people won't be supporting it. Because, theaters are still huge right now, but over time, ultimately, streaming's probably going to take over. And that's just the reality of things, and I think that's awful. Because, I support theaters, I support physical media, because that's another thing. It's gonna hurt physical... Obviously, I support physical media. It's going to hurt physical media because streaming is going to get bigger and bigger as the years go on, and theaters and physical media will start fading away. I don't know if I would say I wish this movie got a theatrical release, but I would have rather it had a theatrical release, even if it was garbage, just because I'm a supporter of that stuff. Now, I do think, like I said earlier in the stream, I think I said this, maybe it was, I don't know. I think Leatherface's New Home is going to be on Leatherface. I think Leatherface's New Home is going to be on Netflix. I don't think he's ever going to get a theatrical release again because that's just kind of the state of that character in the franchise. And it's like that with Chucky as well. Like, we'll never see Chucky on the big screen again. Obviously, that reboot or remake that came out in 2019 was in theaters, whatever. I don't think that we'll see Chucky on the big screen again. I really don't. Same with Leatherface. I think those days are gone, and it's unfortunate. But as long as we keep getting movies, I'm okay with that. And with that being said, I hope that this movie at least gets a physical media release. I hope it gets a Blu-ray because I will be picking it up. I wish it would have went to theaters, but it didn't. And it's unfortunate because the prequel we got from 2017 was awful, and that got a theatrical release, and this one doesn't. And this one was definitely better. You know what I mean? But what can we do about it? I think that's just the state of the character now in the franchise. There's nothing we could do about it. But I wish it would have got a theatrical release, but honestly, it is what it is. Let's see. At least no airplane came. Wait, I have no clue what you're talking. Oh, I do know what you're talking about. The ending of The Next Generation. Wow, I haven't seen that movie since last year, and I almost forgot about that. Yeah, that ending is not great at all, but that movie's so fun. I don't care what anybody says. The original and 2003 remake are the best. Yes, I agree. Candyman 2021, in my opinion, was a masterpiece. I really loved Candyman 2021. As a first-time watcher of a Candyman movie... Oh, so you're saying that Candyman 2021 was your first time seeing a Candyman film? Or did you watch the first one before the new one? Because Candyman... You need to watch the original before watching 2021. But hey, if you just watch 2021, that's fine. I think it's a really good requel. It is a good movie. I don't know if I'd say it's a masterpiece. It's kind of stretching it for me. But it's a good requel. I think it's the best requel we've gotten. And it's funny because Halloween 2018 started that trend. So you would think it'd be Halloween 2018. And I love Halloween 2018. It's fantastic. But it's not better than Candyman 2021 when it comes to being a direct sequel to the original movie. I do think 2018 is a better movie. I think Halloween 2018 is a better movie. But when it comes to being a sequel to the original, it's definitely Candyman 2021. If someone was like, what's the best requel? What's a requel that actually feels like a sequel to the original movie? I'm saying Candyman 2021. All right, let's see. Oh, I love that. Yeah, that's great. Hold on. Scream is back, and Leatherface and Halloween. Now all we need is Friday the 13th movie. I agree. We do need a new Friday the 13th movie, especially since the lawsuit is over with. Again, I believe Victor Miller won, so I'm waiting for that announcement. I want a new Friday the 13th movie. I think we all want a new Friday the 13th movie. When will that be? I don't know. I'm hoping 2024. I don't know. Let's see. Not my king, LOL, not my style of music, 80s thrash metal for life. I guess it's all a matter of opinion, If you're a fan of Elvis, cool. If you think he's the king of rock, cool. If you don't, then it is what it is. I don't know. I should change the name of my channel to Elvis Presley Reacts. That's what I should be. I'll just start doing reaction videos to Elvis Presley. All right, let's see. Let's see. Are you a fan of Elvis Presley, his music? And we are getting an Elvis Presley movie in June. That's actually funny you said that because I seen that earlier. I was on like Instagram and there was like a promo photo for that new Elvis thing coming out. I don't know what it is. I won't be watching it, but it might be good. I don't know. Let's see. Oh, we got 80s horror fan in the chat, man. We gotta have 80s horror fan. He says, hey, Ryan, I have to work tonight. Stopping by to say hi. Hope we see Loomis tonight. Well, I'm glad you stopped in, 80s horror fan. Loomis, what should Loomis say here? I'm trying to think. I want to do this. I want to do this for 80s horror fan. What would Loomis say about this new Chainsaw movie? That's what I should say. Oh, man, it's so hard to think what Loomis would say. I used to be really good at this. Like, I used to do this right off the top and just have a line for you, but I don't know what to say right now. Oh, man. I don't know. I'm drawing a blank. I'll think about it. I'll come back to that. Let's see. This is a really cool stream. I just subscribed. Well, thank you, Headhunter. I'm glad that you subscribed to the channel. Always love having new people here. It means a lot to me. I do... We have fun here. Let's just say that. I was going to say I do a lot of work, but recently I've been doing a lot of live streams. I mean, I haven't streamed since last week. Now I'm doing this one. But we always have fun here. We're always on here talking about horror and just having a good time. And everybody's cool here, you know what I mean? Like, my whole chat is just nothing but love. Like, I don't have any hate in the chat. I got moderators to take care of that if there was. But, thank you for subscribing. It means a lot. I think it will... Wait. I think it will because all the other movies came to media. Oh, you're talking about Texas Chainsaw Massacre? I don't know, because, this is a Netflix movie, and if you guys know Netflix, when they do release their movies on physical media, it takes, a year or more. It's ridiculous. Last year, the Fear Street trilogy came out on Netflix, and we still don't have a physical media release for that yet, so I don't know. I don't know if we'll get this new Chainsaw movie on Blu-ray or not. I think we will though, because I mean, there's a market for it. People will buy it. I'm sure that this new Chainsaw was probably actually one of the most streamed movies on Netflix today. I would imagine. I'm sure we'll hear about that tomorrow. So, I hope it gets one though. The new Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie, I give a 10 out of 10. Wow, you absolutely loved the new Chainsaw movie. Which is awesome. I'm glad to hear that. You know, not everyone has the same opinion. That's what the beauty is behind everything. We all have our own opinions, our own point of views on things. So I'm glad that you really enjoyed it. I did too. I wouldn't give it a 10 out of 10, but I did really enjoy it, and I'm happy about that. Let's see here. Where was I? Horrorman93 says, I give it a 7 out of 10. I give it a 7.5 out of 10. I think it was almost an 8, but the plot and I'll get into that soon. When will the spoiler portion start? Here in a second. He would say, did Leatherface kill... That's a good one. I'm going to say that now. Let's see if I can do this. Let me get a drink first, because I want to do that. I want to make sure this sounds pretty good. So if you guys haven't seen Halloween Kills, obviously in the flashback scene, Loomis yells up at Hawkins on the stairway in the Myers house. He's like, did Michael kill again? Did Leatherface kill again? All right, let me see if I can do this. Should I say Hawkins? Whose name should I say? I'm trying to think of whose name. Should I say Dante, since he was one of the characters in this movie? All right, here, let me try this. Well, Dante, I don't know. I'm just going to use Dante. You guys know he was in the new Chainsaw movie. I'm just going to use his name. Dante! That was awful. I'm not even going to do it. I just butchered it. I'm not even going to do it. He would say, Sally, you're not Lori, stop it. Hey, I mean... Well, maybe. They need to get on that. Oh, you mean doing the Fear Street? I agree. Let's see. Put the Fear Street movies on Blu-ray. They should. Young Truth says, I give it a 7. Don't spoil it for others. Well, I just dropped my phone. Alright, unfortunately, if you guys have not yet seen the new Chainsaw movie, now is your time to leave. I'm just going to say that right now. Now would be your time to leave. I am going to discuss spoilers right here. I'm sorry. I know the movie just came out. A lot of people haven't seen it yet. But I want to talk about spoilers on this stream. I don't want to do like a separate stream on it. I want to talk about everything here on this stream. So if you haven't seen it yet, leave. Watch the movie and come back and watch this. I would really appreciate that. So I'm sorry if you guys haven't seen it. If you don't mind being spoiled, then stick around, whatever. So here we go. Spoiler portion of the stream. My chat went down by a lot. That's hilarious. I still love you guys. I know that you haven't seen it yet. It's fine. Just come back and watch this later. But let's get into this. So let me just say this right now. The kills in this movie are fantastic. The first kill that we get with that cop in the police van after a certain character has a heart attack, I would say. And that character that has a heart attack is Leatherface's foster mom, which is kind of weird, to be honest with you, because when did this happen? I believe it was 74 that he went to this foster home or whatever. So this was like a year after the events of the first movie. So he has a foster mother in this one, which is weird. I guess he's been staying there throughout these 50 years or whatever. I would say, this is what I want to talk about. If they do another movie, or if they do a prequel to this new Chainsaw movie, they can definitely discuss what what Leatherface was doing throughout the 50 years. I think that this woman, it was 75. Okay, 2 years then, pretty much after the events of the first movie. He went to this foster home, whatever. So 75. Horrorman corrected me in the chat. So 75. I would say that this lady kind of made Leatherface change his ways. Now, obviously, he didn't change enough because he's killing again. He's killing again in this new Chainsaw movie. But there's something that triggers him to do that. Now, I do think that this foster mom kind of straightened Leatherface out, you know. Kind of made him not so much of a good guy anymore, but kind of made him change his ways. You know what I'm saying? That's how I see it, because what else would he have been doing throughout these 50 years? You know, obviously after the events that happened in 1973, people would be looking for him. Police would be looking for him, all that stuff. So somehow he got away and he ended up at this foster home, right? So I would say that this lady straightened him up. Now, if they did do a prequel or whatever, kind of showing us what happened in those 50 years, obviously he's probably done some bad things. I don't know if he's necessarily killed, maybe, but I think she did kind of straighten him up, because when Melody and why did his name just Melody and what's his name? Dante, when they're in her house in this foster home, when they pretty much owned the town of Harlan, right? So when they go in there and she's talking with them, and it kind of gets heated there because she's like, I have the title to this house, and he's like, well, show us the title. It's like, oh, you can't, whatever. He was at the staircase. He was worried about this lady, his foster mother. So I felt like, obviously he was protective over her, and I feel like that she really straightened him up. You know what I mean? She made him a better man. I'm not saying that he still didn't do bad things, but I do think that she may have straightened him up a little bit, which I thought was okay, but still kind of weird, because 50 years is a long time. You know what I mean? They could still show us things that happened in that period of time, but if she did straighten him up and make him, somewhat of a good guy, not really, then that's really cool. That's interesting. I think that works. And then what happens is his foster mother ends up having a heart attack, and they try to pull attention. They take her in that sheriff van that you guys see in the trailer, and they try to get her help, but she ends up dying. She ends up passing away. And Leatherface sees that as these new people who have came into the town of Harlan caused this. And this triggers him to become the killer again, start killing again. He's very angry at these people, and that's his motive in this new Chainsaw movie, and I thought that was really, really good. I know this is spoilers, but that was really, really good, and I really liked that, and I think that's really what was going on there, because the whole thing about Leatherface having a foster mother to me was really weird at first. I was like, what is this? This is strange. But now when I think about it, if the story is what I'm saying, then I kind of dig that. I think that's okay. So let me get into chat here because I am behind again. She was crazy, but she wasn't lying about having the deed to the orphanage. Yeah, she had the title to the building. She had every right to be there. And of course Dante wasn't going to have that, because they wanted this town, this ghost town of Harlan, and they wanted to bring it back to life and I guess have businesses there. They were auctioning off buildings in this town, trying to get, they could put their business there if they obviously win the building. But yeah, she had every right to be there, and he's like, no, you don't have no right to be here, whatever. It was sad. That's actually kind of an emotional scene for the movie, because this lady is being honest. Like, she has the title to this place, and they're like trying to tell her, hey, you gotta leave. And of course, again, Leatherface is upstairs, and he's not having this. He's very protective over this lady, and then she ends up dying from a heart attack. Melody finds out about it. They find out that she died, and she feels really bad because she ended up finding the title in the house, and she felt really bad about it. And it is sad because and then there's a scene where she's in the closet hiding. And that's one of the suspenseful scenes. She's in the closet hiding, and Leatherface is up there, and he grabs the lady's dress or something like that, and he's crying. You know what I mean? Like, Leatherface is sad over this. I mean, I really, it wasn't his real mother, but that was definitely his mother figure. You know what I mean? And with her dying, it triggered him, and it made him snap. It made him turn back into that killer. And if you look at it that way, I think it's genius. I think that's a really cool way to bring the character of Leatherface back. So that's definitely one thing I absolutely loved about this new Chainsaw movie. Let's see, where was I? She raised him to be good. I would say so. Yeah, I would say so. The new Texas Chainsaw Massacre remind me of 2018 Halloween. Definitely, it's definitely a rip off of that. So yeah, it definitely has that feel. Well, he still retained putting on makeup and putting on dresses. Well, he held her dress. He held her dress, but he was putting makeup on. But I think he was doing that just because he was having a breakdown. He found out, he knew that she died. So, I think he was just having a breakdown. I think that might have also been a call to the pretty Leatherface mask in the first movie. I think it was a call back to that as well, but I really think he was just having a breakdown. I don't think he was actually trying to, do his makeup. Even though Leatherface's mask, I don't know if you guys realize this or not, which this is really dark and disgusting, but once that accident happens, when that sheriff van crashes and Leatherface ends up killing those cops, and he ends up killing Ruth. Her name was Ruth. It's actually before he killed Ruth. He's getting the mask. That's when he gets the Leatherface mask. And his face that he puts on his face is... The face that he puts on his face, if I can speak, is his foster mother's face. Now, just let that sink in for a minute. The face that he puts on his own face is his foster mother's face. I mean, that. You know, I didn't realize that the first time I watched it, and then I thought, wait a minute. Is this a cop's face? What is this? And it was his foster mother's. Let that sink in for a second. And I think he did that because he didn't want to let her go. And I think there's meaning behind that. I could be wrong, but, he didn't want her to die. He didn't want to let her go, so he took a piece of her with him. Like, it's weird, I know, but I thought that was a good idea. Let's see. He really tried to bring her back. He did not want her to die. He definitely was protective over her and had an attachment over her. So he's not completely heartless. No, I'm glad that you mentioned that. This movie definitely proves that Leatherface is definitely not heartless. And of course, another thing that I like that they did with this movie is in the first one, Leatherface is 100% a human being. He's still a human in this one. I'm glad that they didn't try to make him supernatural or this like unstoppable force of evil, whatever. He was still a human being in this movie. And I'm glad that they kept that. You know what I'm saying? I'm glad that they didn't make him something that he wasn't. But I really like that. So yes, he's not completely heartless. And I like that as well. Because he's still a human. I mean, he's a very disturbed man. A very nasty serial killer. But he still has a heart. Epic stream, I subbed. Well, thank you, I the Gamer. I appreciate that. Hordeman93 says it's a great stream. Thank you. I really do appreciate that. I'm on here trying to have a good time. And we are. I think we are having a good time. I love talking. I know a lot of people left after I mentioned I was going to talk about spoilers, but I know a lot of people haven't seen it yet. It just came out today. I was lucky enough to see it. So I thought I'd get on here and do a stream about it. But like the first 30 minutes or more was spoiler free. So, I'm glad that we had people in here. Hopefully, if you already watched the movie and you came back and watched this as a video, thank you. I appreciate you. Let's see. Yes, so Dante lied about having the title. He did lie. He did. My favorite kill in the movie is the guy that Leatherface kept bashing his skull in front of Melody under the bed. That was, what was his name? Rickton? Something like that? I don't remember his name. He was the guy with the big red truck in the beginning of the movie. He was the guy that Dante called. I think this guy let Dante and Melody know about Harlan as a town. But yeah, that was a really good kill. Actually, that's probably my second favorite kill. My first favorite kill is the first kill when he snaps that cop's wrist and the bone's sticking out and then he stabs him with his own bone. And then it's that one. And then my third favorite kill is Sally's. So I'm going to get into that in a second because I definitely want to talk about that. That was nasty, sawing her face off. Yeah, it was really disturbing. Let's see. I love that sequence. And he left her in the field. Yes, he did. The hammer to the head, very good kill. Yep. A very strong human. He took shotgun shells like a champ. Yeah, oh, definitely. Let me get into this whole Sally thing since I'm on this. Now, this was one reason why I was really excited for this movie was because of them bringing the character of Sally back. And I've talked about that on my trailer reaction and my my discussion when that trailer came out. I've said since day one, since they announced this movie and since they announced that Sally was coming back, I was like, I am excited for this movie because of Sally coming back. Again, this is the only Chainsaw movie that has done that, and what they did with her was awful. That's definitely a letdown for me. Now, she is sort of like that Laurie Strode character. She does have that showdown with Leatherface, but the showdown that she has with Leatherface is absolutely awful. And the reason why is because she goes upstairs in that orphanage where Leatherface was and his foster mom, and she has the shotgun aimed right at Leatherface, and she's saying things like, "Do you remember me?" Of course he doesn't. He don't care. But she had the opportunity to kill Leatherface right there, and she didn't do that. And I thought that was really dumb. And what they did with her character was so stupid because, Leatherface ends up leaving and Sally just lets him leave. I mean, she could have ended it right there. And then she goes outside, she's chasing Leatherface, and then she's shooting at him, and now she wants to actually do something when she had the opportunity to do something 5-10 minutes ago. So what they did with her character was really dumb, and she gets killed really fast. Leatherface goes in this alleyway, it's dark, and then all of a sudden you hear these steps like someone running, and it's obviously Leatherface, and he comes out of the darkness, and he just saws Sally. Like, the saw goes right into her, like, all the way through her, too. And somehow, he saws her, he, like, flings her off the chainsaw, and she goes flying into, like, a pile of trash, which sounds stupid. And she didn't even die from that. I mean, this saw was all the way through her on. So, honestly, I feel like she would have died instantly, but somehow she lived. Maybe you can live from that, I don't know, but I feel like she would have died instantly, and she didn't. She's in that trash, laying in that trash where she literally got flung. And she's still alive, and she's alive enough to where she could shoot the shotgun like 1 or 2 more times. And Sally in this movie, she's a backseat character. Now, if you guys seen Scream 2022, you know that like Neve Campbell, Courtney Cox, David Arquette, they all sort of took that backseat. Not so much David, because Dewey was definitely one of the focuses of that movie. In this one, Sally takes that backseat, but it's not in a good way. Like, they didn't use her character right. You know what I'm saying? Like, I would have been okay with Sally taking a backseat and focusing on these new characters, because again, the new cast wasn't perfect. The character development wasn't great, but her taking a backseat as a legacy character is fine with me. But when she did finally decide to show up and do something, it's so quick. She's there and she really does nothing. She just gets killed. She shoots Leatherface a few times and then she just dies. I thought it was a waste of her character. And she's such a iconic final girl in horror history, if I can speak. And they just pretty much trash her character and kill her off. I thought that was really weak, and they should have done something better with her, but can't do anything about it. The gore is great in it. When he bashed that... Wait, what? When he bashed that cop in the van twice, I was like, nice. That is a good kill. When he bashed the cop in the van twice. I don't remember that. Oh, you mean the cop that survived and he finished him off. I know what you're talking about. Yeah, that was cool. Yes, Leatherface don't even remember her. No, he don't care. Let's see. When he ran fast at her, I liked that. It was nice, but it's just so dumb. Like, they did nothing with her. And I feel like she was one of the strong points of this movie. I think when a lot of us heard that Sally was coming back, we were excited for that. And then we got almost nothing. So it was just pointless to me. It was ridiculous. She lived longer than she should. She lived longer than she should. No, I think she should have been in it longer. Now, I'm not saying that this actress is a great actress. I don't know what else she's worked on or been in. Because her portrayal as Sally... I mean, I could believe that Sally 50 years later, but I don't think she's a great actress. I'm not saying she's terrible, but I don't think she's a great actress. But as a character, I feel like she should have been in the movie more, because Chainsaw fans know who Sally is. Sally is, other than Leatherface and Chop Top, Sally is the face of the Chainsaw franchise. That is what we think of. When we think of final girl for the Chainsaw franchise, you think of Sally. And they kind of just threw her character away, and it's unfortunate. Where was I? She felt... Oh, I know. Yeah, when Lila tried to shoot the gun at Leatherface, but it was on safety or whatever. That was funny, and Leatherface looks at her like, really? And he just chases her. It's hilarious. When Leatherface picked her up with a chainsaw from Halloween... Oh, I know what you're saying. Like when Michael stabbed one of the firefighters in Halloween Kills and lifted him up. It's similar to that. When he pretty much chainsawed Sally. Yeah, he picked... It was similar to that. I mean, this whole movie is similar to what they've done with Halloween. But it's still very different, though. And when I say it's very different, like, it's recycled material, but it's not like Laurie Strode. You care about Laurie Strode. Laurie Strode... In 2018, I mean, you really know her backstory. It really builds up to that showdown with Laurie and Michael. In this movie, there's like no build-up at all. Sally gets a call, and I'm guessing that they told her, like, Leatherface is back, whatever. I don't know what they told her exactly, because we don't hear the actual phone call. but there's no build up to it. She just kind of shows up and she's like, you gotta, she's got Melody and Lila in the car when she shows up. She's like, you gotta stay here because he's after you. I gotta kill him. I gotta finish this. She does like nothing. I mean, there's no build up. And then when you get to the showdown, it's fine, but it's not good enough. It was almost like when she died, it did take me by surprise, though. I will say that. Like, it's not a good build-up, and Sally's character isn't great, but when she does get killed in this movie, it did take me by surprise. I wasn't expecting them to kill Sally. For some reason, I thought Sally was going to live in this movie, but when she died, I was kind of like, whoa, wait a minute, Sally's dead? It did take me by surprise. That was the best thing that her character was good for, was that really big surprise toward the end of the movie, in the last act of the movie. But her character was just a waste. She was there for a body count, and I don't think that's what the character of Sally should have been. Now, they could have killed Sally, which they did, but they could have still gave her a better story in this one, more screen time, better written lines. They could have done better with that character and still killed her, and it probably would have been more impactful, but it still surprised me. It wasn't so much like, oh, Sally died, that sucks. It was like, oh, wow, Sally died. Like, it took me by surprise. There was no like emotional attachment to her death, so that, to me, that was a fail. Let's see, where was I? The laugh she had was a little cringe after she shot him. Oh, I know what you're talking. Yeah, that is a little cringy. Great value, Laurie Strode. I mean, it's great value, Sally, because the original actress passed away, and even if she was still around, I don't think she probably would have came back for this movie, but she ain't bad. I'm not going to say she's a bad actress, this new lady who's playing Sally, but she isn't great. The casting was good, though. Like, her facial features reminds me of Sally a little bit, so they did good on that. Let's see. Also think of Stretch from... Oh, yeah. She's probably the second girl that I think of in the Chainsaw franchise, but Sally's definitely number one. The ending I did like when he sawed Melody head off and held it like, I got your sister's head. That's another thing I want to talk about. This is probably going to be the end of the spoiler discussion, and then we could talk about whatever. The ending when you think that Melody and Lila are going to get away. They got the car on like auto cruise, whatever, autopilot, whatever cars have nowadays. You think they're going to get away, but Leatherface ends up pulling Melody out of the car and cutting her head off, and Lila sees it, and it's kind of like the end of the original movie. Leatherface does his little chainsaw dance at the end of this movie as well, because Lila's going to get away. And that reminds me of a line. There's one line that I do like in this movie from Sally, and that's when she says, Lila's running back to go help Melody when she's in that car with that thing in her leg, like that metal pipe or whatever. And she says, don't run from him or he'll haunt you or whatever. Something in that nature, she said. That was a fantastic line. And I think it really helped the ending of this movie because she's getting away. She's going to be the one that got away. Because Sally was the one that got away and now she's dead. So now Lila is the one that got away. And she's probably going to go through what Sally went through. She's never going to forget this. She's going to be haunted by what happened. I mean, she saw her sister die pretty much right in front of her. So, that's going to haunt her as well. So I really love that ending. And I do want to say, too, this reminded me when I was talking about the car that was on, like, whatever cars have nowadays. The cars that, like, drive themselves. This movie was very modern-day horror. Like, this movie definitely takes place today. There's a school shoot. Lila was involved. She was a survivor of a school shooting. It's kind of woke, but it's not over the top with that stuff. The whole thing with the guy, they're all live streaming on Instagram when they're on that I guess you could say party bus. It almost reminds me of a party bus because they had music playing, but maybe it's not. But, he was all like, if you try anything, you're canceled, bro. I mean, that's so much like what's going on today in the world and how people are. So it's very much a modern day horror film. Doesn't take away from it, but some of those things I just felt weird, and with this movie taking place in this small town of Harlan, being this like ghost town pretty much, it did feel weird. It felt different than the others because the others, that they're at this farm, which you do see the farm in the post-credit scene at the end of the movie. I don't know if you guys know that or not, but there is a post-credit scene where it shows Leatherface walking back to the original farm from the original movie, which is really cool. And they got that spot on. But that's not even a thing in the movie. That's just the post-credit scene. So this whole movie takes place in this small town of Harlan. And it feels like Texas, but it doesn't. Like, it definitely has its own feel. And I really like that. I think Chainsaw needed that. I know some people won't like that. I thought it was fine. Another thing that this Chainsaw movie did different that I also really enjoyed is, you guys know that every single Chainsaw movie has a family, and there's like a table scene. There's always like a dinner table scene. There's always a grandpa, pretty much. You guys know what I'm talking about if you've seen the Chainsaw franchise. This one did not have that. There was no family dinner table scene. This one was mainly focused on Leatherface. You know, his foster mother dies, and he wants to get revenge. He's really hurt by this, and it's focused on Leatherface. And this is the first Chainsaw movie that's done this. So that's why I respect it. I mean, it's brought Sally back, which no other Chainsaw movie has done. This movie only focused on Leatherface. There was no family involved. There was no grandpa. There was no dinner table scene. It was all focused on Leatherface, and I really like that. I'm glad that they went that route. You know what I mean? Because no other Chainsaw has done it. Not that I know of. Maybe Chainsaw 3D did? But I don't know. Maybe there wasn't a family or dinner table scene in that movie, but whatever. Who cares about that movie anyways? This one, I like that they did that. They kind of went away from that. A majority of the films in the franchise have that. This one didn't, so I thought that was really cool. So, the bus scene. I was going to talk about that a little bit. I love that scene. It's probably my favorite scene in the movie. That's where the true massacre starts. I mean, he is killing people in there. There's probably about 10 or more people in this bus, and I mean, he is taking them out, and it's brutal. He lifts up a guy with the chainsaw, and then there's this girl who's trying to climb out of the window of the bus, and she gets like cut in half. It is crazy. I love the bus scene. It's really, really good. All right, so let me get to chat. We can talk about whatever now. I'm probably going to be wrapping up soon, but we can talk about whatever now. I got through the spoilers and the non-spoilers. So overall, you guys know I like this new Chainsaw movie. 7.5 out of 10 for me. Let me know what you guys think of the new Chainsaw Massacre movie in the comment section below or in the live chat. I definitely want to hear from you guys. But let me get into this chat now. All right, let's see. I'm glad that was the ending because just hitting Leatherface with the uppercut with the chainsaw was a little weak. Yeah, at first I thought that Leatherface died because, again, he's definitely human in this one like he is in the original movie. So I thought maybe that she killed Leatherface, but she didn't, obviously. But I wouldn't have been mad. I mean, I agree. The uppercut thing was a little weak if it did end with that. But if Leatherface died in this one, I would have been cool with that because I don't think Leatherface has died in any other Chainsaw movie. Actually, that's not true. I think he did die in Chainsaw 3D. But that might be the only one. But if he would have died in this one, I would have been okay with that. But what they did was fine. I'm glad that he wasn't dead, you know? Because ultimately, you really don't want Leatherface to die because we're here for that dude. Like, if they're going to make more movies, you got to have Leatherface. So maybe that's another reason why they kept him alive because they were like, well, maybe we could do another movie. So, but I agree, it was a little weak. If they would have ended it there, I wouldn't have been very happy. It was not a happy ending. It was not. Like no one really won. Even though Lila got away, I wouldn't say that she won. You know what I mean? She saw her sister die right in front of her, and she's, like Sally said, she's going to be haunted for the rest of her life. I wouldn't say she won. Let me see. School shootings are so common today, so I can see why they added that in. You know, it also brings up the point of, like, if you're for guns or not for guns, because, you know, there's people who they want to get rid of guns. They think guns are bad. And in certain situations, yes, they are. And in certain situations, they could be good. And this movie shows both sides of it. Obviously, her being involved in a school shooting, almost dying, you know, that's terrible, right? It's awful. But then, you know, later on in the movie, she ends up using a gun because she's trying to save her sister from Leatherface and she's trying to kill Leatherface. So ultimately, you see both sides of, like, guns being bad and guns being good. And I love that this new Chainsaw movie balanced that. You know what I'm saying? I'm really glad that they did that. I'm glad it wasn't one-sided where it's just like, oh, guns are terrible. You shouldn't have guns. And I'm also glad that it wasn't like, guns rule, dude. Like, you know what I mean? So I'm glad that they balanced that because there's definitely two sides to it. Guns can be good and they can be bad. You know, so I'm glad that they did it. They definitely balanced that out. He killed a lot of people in that bus. Yeah, great massacre scene. I love it. Yes, I think that's one of the few that doesn't got that kind of scene. Oh, you're talking about the whole family situation? Yeah. I agree. I don't know. Maybe Chainsaw 3D? I don't remember. Dante's kill was pretty good. I'm glad you mentioned that too because Dante's kill was very slow. Like he got hit. Didn't he get hit with like the mallet thing or whatever? He got hit with something. And he doesn't die right away. He ends up making it outside after it starts storming. And you see the aftermath of that. He's out there, and like the side of his face and his cheek, this is like completely cut open, and his lips like kind of hanging down. And you see that aftermath, and I love that in horror. And that's what I love about Halloween 2018. There were some kills that were off screen that we saw the aftermath to. Now this one, we saw what happened to Dante, but he didn't die right away, and we didn't necessarily see the aftermath. So when he does get outside, and it reveals the meat cleaver. That's right. Yes. Okay. A meat cleaver. That's right. The meat cleaver. You're right. I was thinking it was like a mallet or something. You're right. The meat cleaver cut him right here. That's why his face is obviously open right here. And when you see that, when you see the aftermath, it's like, geez, it was really good. I don't know if that was practical. I would say it probably was. There's a little CGI thrown in here with certain kills. Like you could tell there's some CGI blood thrown in, but there's definitely some practical in this as well. And his like aftermath shot might have been practical. I don't know though, but it was really good. I really did like that. Let's see. Too much Leatherface. They need to keep him in the dark and not enough cannibalism. Ooh, I mean, I see where you're coming from. I mean, I like, you know what? You're right. I don't think it was too much Leatherface. Not for me. I think it was fine. But I do agree with you, like, keeping him in the dark. Kind of like Michael Myers. Like, you don't want to have Michael Myers out in daylight, or even though it's happened in the franchise, but Michael Myers is more scarier in the dark. Same with Leatherface. Keeping him in the dark, I agree. I think that would have been really cool. There was a lot of lighting on Leatherface throughout this movie. Not enough cannibalism. That's true. I can't think of any, really. I don't know. But yeah, there wasn't really any of that. Not much of it at all if there was. But I agree. I think you're right. They could have definitely kept him in the shadows more and in the darkness, but they didn't do that. The one kill in the van, the girl Leatherface killed, I like that one. Oh, yeah, what was her name? Ruth. I believe her name's Ruth. Yeah, she got killed. She was trying to live. She was trying to stay quiet. She was trying to get help, and Leatherface just busts that window out, and he stabs her, like, in the stomach area, or, well, cuts her pretty much. So, yeah, I mean, it was cool. It was a nice kill. It wasn't the first kill, but it was a good kill. There was no cannibalism, and that was a huge part of the first two. Yeah, that's what I thought. I knew there wasn't no cannibalism in this one. I agree. I mean, they could have added that in, but with this being a Netflix movie, I mean, I'm sure they can show that on Netflix. I don't know, like, their regulations or their policy. I don't know. But yeah, I would imagine that Netflix should have been able to show stuff like that, and it is a huge part of the first two movies. So I don't know. It is what it is. I wasn't really thinking about that too much. So for me personally, I'm a Chainsaw fan, but I definitely agree with you. They should have had that in there. But as a Chainsaw fan, I didn't really think about that too much. I was okay with it. But I mean, I would have loved to seen some of that, because that's just what the Chainsaw franchise is, especially those first two movies, like you said. For sure, that was makeup effects. It looked really good. I don't know who did the makeup effects for this movie, but the Dante's aftermath of his face, that was incredible. That was really good. Leatherface throughout the series has a good amount of screen time, especially part 2. Yeah, part 2 he has way more screen time. I'm okay with what they did. I do agree that he should have been in the darkness a little bit more, but overall, like, I'm cool with what they did. I think we got a decent sequel. I'll say that. I think it's above average. It's a decent sequel. It's not a masterpiece. It could have been better, but what we got is fine. So it is what it is. I'm not mad about it. No human skeletons used in this one. Yeah, they used real human skeletons in the original movie. They didn't use none in this. They don't even really do that anymore, I don't think. Maybe they do. I know they did it back in the days because it was cheaper. They even did it in Poltergeist. But I don't think they do that very much anymore. They could, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. And they should have tried to receive the original final girl. They should have tried to receive the original final. They couldn't get the original Sally because she passed away. That actress is gone. She passed away. I don't know what year exactly, but she's no longer with us. So that's why they had to recast for Sally. And like I said earlier in the stream, I think it was okay, because the lady who plays Sally in this new movie, she resembles her a little bit, and I was okay with it. But and even if the original actress was alive, I don't think she would have came back, to be honest. I don't think she would have came back for this one, but I believe they used real ones in Poltergeist. Yes, they did. I know I'm saying they should have done that. They shouldn't have. Oh, I know what you mean. You're saying that they shouldn't have brought Sally back. This movie, that's actually a good point too. This movie didn't need Sally because Sally was such a throwaway character. As I said earlier, that's unfortunate because she's such a big deal in that original movie. She's the final girl of that original movie. And in this one, they just throw her away like she's nothing. You know, these new characters, fine. You know, I don't care. They could be throwaway characters. Let them be there for the body count. Sally, though, they should have just left her out of this movie. It didn't even need her. I mean, it's a nice touch. I thought it was cool that they were bringing Sally back because, again, this is the first Chainsaw movie that's done that. So I was kind of like, oh, Sally's coming back. But what they did was not what I wanted. But I can't do anything about that. But overall, I am happy with this movie. I'm glad that it's a decent Chainsaw sequel. I'm glad that it's above average, in my opinion. But yeah, those are my thoughts on the new Chainsaw movie. That's my spoiler-free discussion and my spoiler discussion because I probably won't be doing a review for this. This is the review. I know I haven't been doing a lot of videos lately because I've just been really, really busy. I'm going to try to keep it up with these weekly streams, so I'm going to try to come back next weekend or next week, whenever, to do MMR Live number 20. I can't believe that. We're almost at MMR Live number 20. I'll probably do that one Saturday. Maybe Friday, I don't know. I know I've done these past two on Fridays, but I'll try to get a weekend one again. But I'm going to try to do it next week, but we'll see. She didn't make it worse or better, in my opinion. I agree with you. You're correct. It worked in Scream 5 with a legacy character, but they could have cut her and made it more about the investors. That's true. It definitely worked in Scream 5. Definitely. I really enjoyed that in Scream 5. I do agree with you. You're not wrong. I think they should have focused it more on the investors. But they didn't do that. The investors were just there for a body count. They didn't do anything toward the story. They didn't do anything to make the story worse, but it is what it is. Because the focus was on the new characters. Exactly. This new Chainsaw movie really focused on these new characters, not so much Sally. Even though Sally was just thrown in there, to be honest. And I do know that, like the test screening wasn't great for this movie at first. I believe they even changed directors at some point. Maybe that had something to do with it. I don't know if they changed writers or anything, but whatever. This movie is what it is, but I did have fun with it. I did enjoy it. Overall, I'm happy with it. Could have been better. We could have got something better, but overall I'm happy with it. So those are my thoughts on the new Chainsaw movie. Let me know what you guys think of it in the comment section down below. If you are new to my channel and you're a horror fan, definitely hit that subscribe button because that would be much appreciated. And I will see you guys on the next MMR Live or video, whatever. So I'll see you guys later.